Netherite is an ore that was added back in 1.16, dethroning the diamond as the strongest material in the game, and I don't like it. Now, I don't hate the idea of Netherite. Before 1.16, the Nether is pretty much an empty, barren place, and there's pretty much no reason for you to come here aside from getting blaze rods. And so, Netherite was introduced to encourage players to spend more time in the Nether. And it worked, just in the most boring way possible. In order to obtain Netherite, you must first find ancient debris, which can only spawn deep underground and are always buried by Netherite, which means there are only one way to find them: strip mining. Whoa. Yes, I know there are other ways of doing it, but they all share the same problem. They are very tedious and boring. Now let's compare this to how you would find diamond. Yes, strip mining also works here, but unlike netherite, this is not the only way to find diamond, because they also spawn in caves, exposed, and you can also find it in various structures, which encourage exploration. Because not only are you looking for diamonds, you're also exploring strange new caves, discovering new structures, and boldly going where many has gone before. With Netherite, however, it's not about exploration, fending off enemies, or anything, fun. It's about holding WM1 for 5 hours. Either that or committing genocide. Now, after you've found 4 ancient debris without falling asleep, congratulations! You can now upgrade your diamond tool to netherite. Except not, because in 1.20 they added the upgrade template, which can only be obtained from the bastion. Now, having to raid a bastion to unlock netherite sounds like a cool idea, until you remember that in order to raid a bastion, you have to find it first, which means that the right is basically locked behind another layer of woodgen lock. And since there's currently no way to locate a bastion, aside from some wonky F3 menu stuff that no casual player would know about, it could potentially take you a very long time if you are unlucky. After you ready a bastion and get the upgrade template, now you can upgrade your tool to netherite. Congratulations! One slight problem, however, there's a little mechanic in the game called durability, which makes it so that all your tools, including the netherite one that you worked so hard for, will eventually break and be deleted from the game. And since ancient debris is just so unbelievably rare, repairing it just isn't an option, which means you pretty much require mending. Now, honestly, this thing needs a whole video on its own, but in short, it has a lot of the same problem as Netherite. It can take an extremely painful amount of time to get, depending on your luck, and even then, you pretty much need to build an XP farm, otherwise it was just straight up sucks. And with all of that combined, it just makes me feel like I'm doing chores instead of, playing a video game where I'm supposed to have fun. Now, I know mending being overpowered is not a problem exclusive to netherite tools, but at least with all the other materials, you can just not use mending and instead use the anvil, like the old times. However, netherite are just so rare that it just can't make up for the amount of durability you spend looking for it. And so, you have no choice but to use mending, which means that all of mending's problems are just carried over to netherite. Now, with all of this preparation, you'd expect netherite to be some sort of super-powered material that would completely change how you play the game. Something that makes all of those chores you were doing worth it. But unfortunately, netherite is just not that big of an upgrade. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. In fact, netherite tools are objectively the best tool in the game right now. However, it also suffers from the same problem as Bane of Anthropods. where the problem is not with the enchantment itself, but with the fact that there are only four anthropods in the game, and they are all squishy as hell anyways. In Minecraft's current state, enchanted diamond tools are already good enough to cut through the entire game. There are very few instances where you can actually notice Netherite being an upgrade. So yeah, Netherite just basically got completely screwed over by enchantments, not to mention all of this could be taken away from you if you die, because all your items will despawn if they are not picked up within 5 minutes. Now, I don't want this video to just be me bitching and complaining about an item in the block game, so I'm also gonna offer some solutions to hopefully resolve these issues. First of all, I think netherite should be made less rare in general. It would make the process much less tedious. You could do this by simply increasing the spawn rate or even make it so that it can spawn above ground in some cases. And I think a more interesting approach is to put it in the Nether Fortress and the Bastion loot pool, which would add more incentive to go look for these places in the later part of the game. Heck, you can even add a new structure like a shrine or something and put it there. And as for the upgrade template, I personally think it should be removed entirely. But if you really want to keep it, add an item that will help us find the ration so that players don't have to spend hours wandering around the nether while praying to Orange Jesus. And that's pretty much it, I think. If you agree with me or disagree with me, or just wanted to add something, please comment down below. I would appreciate it. Plus, I'm still new to this whole YouTube thing, which is partly why this video took so long. So I would appreciate any feedback. Thank you and have a nice day.